Hi, everyone. Welcome to this Saturday segment. And this weekend, we're going to talk to you about 4 tips to get you on the road to financial freedom. Hi, everyone. I'm Jillian Sidoti, and that is Jeffrey Holst. And this weekend, we're going to talk to you about 4 tips to get you on the road to financial freedom on this 4th of July weekend. And so the number one tip I want to give you is that if you're not responsible with credit, get rid of the credit. You know, I myself have 10 different credit cards, but let me tell you how I use them. First of all, I use them obviously to get points. And then I also use those 10 different credit cards in very specific manners. So I know exactly what I'm spending. So one might be for one business expense type, the other might be for another business expense type. And then I also use different credit cards for household expenses. So for example, some for kid expenses and some for other household expenses. But let me tell you this, I also pay those credit cards off every single month. So if you can't be responsible with credit cards, then you need to get rid of the credit cards.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely right. I'm not nearly as good at that as you, by the way, but I do agree that credit cards can be super useful for tracking, right? It's a way to like sort of have your head around different categories, right? If you always use the same card for business, that's great because then when you go to do your business tax returns, you're going to have all that information. That makes perfectly good sense. But if you can't do it, you should get a debit card and use that instead of a credit card because carrying credit card debt at 20% interest is a terrible waste of money, and it takes financial resources away from your life, and you don't want to be doing that.
No. So if you're unable to purchase something with cash, it probably means you can't afford it. So live within your means, avoid borrowing for frivolous expenses, and those are the hardest loans usually to repay. So be careful with that. Okay, number 2, treat your needs and wants differently. Take a look at your life. How many things have you considered as necessities? If you're being honest with yourself, you'll realize you're piling on unnecessary expenses and focusing on wants rather than your needs. And this is something I have to do myself. How many, different television subscriptions do we really need? Or, other types of subscription type services. That's where I would start, is that if you are finding yourself spending things on unnecessary expenses, start with those things that are subscription based and see how much money you can save.
Yeah, well, listen, Jillian, I needed to go to the beach today. That's why I'm at the beach here today. I didn't have a choice. That was definitely not a want. That was a need. Well, no, that's exactly not true, obviously. But it's really important. So what I did is I created this thing I call a luxury tax. It's not really a tax. It's just something I do myself. I wrote an article about that, which we'll put in the show notes later, or you can just Google like luxury tax Jeffrey Holst and you'll find it. But I wrote this article a few years ago. And what I did is I said, anytime that I spend money on a luxury, I'm going to categorize that on a spreadsheet, and I'm going to automatically set aside an additional 20% of that purchase price. So like if I spent $200 renting an Airbnb on a beach, which I didn't do because I'm actually just visiting a friend's Airbnb, and it's a much cheaper way to visit the Airbnb. But if I did that, I would put away $40. I'd put that aside, and it would force me to be thinking about that. And it actually makes those luxuries more expensive for you, takes more money out of your budget, and it also prevents you from doing the thing that we were talking about in point number 1, which is putting it on a credit card. If you are going to spend money on a want and not a need, you definitely do not want to be charging that. So this kind of forces you to put away additional money at the same time, recognizing what you actually need versus what you just want.
No, absolutely. And then the other thing you can do, besides just cutting back and depriving yourself, as I know a lot of you are probably thinking, they're just talking about depriving. Well, if you want some of those wants, then maybe you need to think about a side hustle and tapping into your natural abilities, your talents, to maximize your skills and giving you some extra income.
Yeah, extra income is huge. It doesn't even have to be a side hustle. I don't think it's anything you can do to increase your income. And what you're going to do, I think, is look at your life and figure out low-hanging fruit on where you can make more money. So, it could be having a garage sale or something like that. That might be your side hustle, or selling stuff online, or writing a book, whatever it is, something that produces income that you can use to do the things like go to the beach like I'm doing right now. But it also could be just like putting more time in at work. If you have a job where you can work more hours to make more money, that might be the solution for you. I mean, you've just got to figure out how you can generate more revenue without significantly impacting your life in a negative way. And if you can do that, you'll have more money and you can do more things.
It's funny, Jeff, because I actually have, you made a mention of doing a garage sale. I actually have a friend, actually two different friends who are experts at going to thrift stores, garage sales, and the like, shopping there and then relisting those things online. They've made a whole entire career out of it. So if you love to shop, but you shouldn't be shopping, that might be something you want to look into. And if you're struggling with what you want to do with the rest of your life, even though you're in your 40s, like the rest of us, then perhaps you want to kind of delve into your life's purpose. So you can go to lastlifeever.com and download our free report on discovering your life's purpose.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about that. We've had some really good feedback. We came out with that last week, and we don't know how long we're going to be able to give it away for free. So if you want it, you should go there now, lastlifeever.com, and download the free report.
Yes, absolutely. So let's get to our fourth tip to getting you on the road to financial freedom. And it goes without saying, start saving your money. And one thing I do when I want to save up for something special.
I have to stop you. Because you said it goes without saying, and then you said it. If it went without saying, you don't have to have a fourth tip. So now that we know we have to say it, go ahead and tell us what it is that you want to say.
You have to save your money. And I have some creative ways of saving money. One thing that I like to do is I set up different bank accounts for different purposes. And then certain money will go into that bank account and stay there. So I have bank accounts for my kids' expenses. I have bank accounts for vacations I want to go on. I have bank accounts, of course, for my retirement. I have a 401k or a self-directed IRA. And then I have bank accounts for our regular old household expenses. And I try to keep that number as low as possible. And that way we are moving money into those things that we really want to spend money on and really want to enjoy or really need in the future. And instead of spending it on, things for around the house that we don't really need, but we want.
Right. And I think that's super important. Actually, if we go back to my luxury tax, that is also my savings plan, because I take this money, the 20% additional money, and I set it aside into an account. And I use that for investments. Myself personally, I use it for investments that I don't think I would otherwise do. So like when everyone was buying cryptocurrency, that's the money I used to buy cryptocurrency. And I was able to make a bunch of money on that because I was able to take more risk than I would have been with other money that I might have had, because it's money that I had mentally checked out, right? It was something like that. But it also could be used for buying a vacation house or whatever you want to do with your money. The great part about having savings is you get to use it how you want.
That's right. You get to use it however you want. And I even tell that to my kids. I make my kids, whenever they earn money, put a little aside for savings, they can spend a little right away, and then they have to give some away as well. So they have to give to charity. And that is one thing I'll say. That is not one of our tips, but one of the things I don't want you to do is to eliminate your charitable giving as a want. It's really something you should keep up with, because if you're not giving now, you're never going to give. So you always have to constantly give. It's something I have to also remind myself of, is to give, because I know when I give, I will get that money back. So let's review real quick what those 4 tips were. Number 1, you want to get rid of the credit cards and any debt that you don't need or cannot be responsible with. Number 2, treat your wants and needs differently. Really recognize what is a necessary expense and what isn't a necessary expense. Number 3, look for a job or a side hustle or something where you're tapping into your skill set, perhaps, getting more income coming in. And maybe that is selling some of the stuff that you don't, quote unquote, need. And then finally, whatever you do, save money at all costs. Jeff, anything to add before we sign off on this Saturday segment?
Only that I agree with you completely on the giving thing. And one thing that people can do on that is they can do the same thing they should do with savings, and that is set a percentage that they're going to donate to charity, to their church, whatever it might be. And then also set a savings percentage. Like if you make $1, maybe you should be putting 10 cents of that dollar in savings every time. If you pay yourself first and you pay your charities first, then you will have a much richer and fuller life, and it will work out a lot easier for you. So, and that's what
absolutely
we want, right?
correct.
That's our last life. We have to do it right.
You have to do it right. Everybody have a wonderful 4th of July weekend. I'm Jillian Sidoti. This is Jeffrey Holtz. Remember, this is your last life ever.